Whatever we say about it, the Nothing Ear 1 are already kind of a success. They've generated the right noises by partnering with big YouTubers like Unbox Therapy and Casey Neistat, who are actually investors in the company.
But we at DHRME have no dog in the fight, so let's try to cancel out the noise, starting with noise cancelling. Goedendag, we are DHRME, Digital Hypercritic Reviews of Modern Equipment.
As always, before we start telling you our opinion on the active noise cancelling, have a listen to some samples. But remember, this only gives you a rough idea of what they sound like compared to the AirPods Pro. We've had sub $100 earbuds on the channel before where corners had to be cut and the noise cancelling is often that corner. Nothing actually does something in terms of noise cancelling, which is the good news. There are 3 modes: off, transparency mode to hear your surroundings, and noise cancelling. There is a light and a maximum noise cancelling mode, but to be honest, we couldn't really hear a difference between the two.
Comparing them to the AirPods Pro, we can say that the AirPods have better overall noise cancelling and transparency mode. No doubt about that, the Nothing do well and perform at about 80 to 90% compared to the AirPods Pro. What we did notice are 2 interesting things. Firstly, the transparency mode is not very transparent, meaning you feel like you still have earbuds in your ears, and you also notice a slight white noise, whereas the AirPods Pro do a phenomenal job in this department. And secondly, the Nothing had a different experience in the left earbud compared to the right one, almost as if there's an imbalance in noise cancelling and transparency. The left felt like it was doing a better job than the right one. Very interesting and strange at the same time.
The best part about these buds, in which I think they beat everything else for me except the AirPods Pro to an extent, is the comfort and fit. The Nothing comes with 3 silicone tips in the box, and we found our sizes among these 3. Now, we've tested comfortable buds and secure fitting buds on the channel, but the Nothing Ear 1 is a rare combination of the two. Being inspired by the AirPods Pro really paid off here. Except that the AirPods don't have occlusion when you talk with them in your ears, which makes your own voice sound like this. Here's a headbanging test.
We're going to talk about sound in a bit, but to focus on just the sound would kind of be missing the point on these earbuds. This is a lifestyle product, and the design of the Nothing buds stands out in a sea of AirPod lookalikes. Up to a point, it is still a stem-shaped design, and everything above the transparent part is basically an AirPods Pro clone. We diss Chinese companies for knocking off designs, but despite the attempt at originality by making the components see-through, we're gonna diss the Nothing Ear 1 as well. Still, for the part that sticks out of your ear, they look quite unique. The buds are also IPX4, which means we get some light sweat proofing for workouts and runs, so that's always good. The case is again unique looking but also unnecessarily big, and you'd think that bigger size gets you better battery life. Wrong. The battery life is very average, 4 hours with ANC on. I mean, you can literally see it, there's like empty space. Nothing in the case. Here, form trumps function, unfortunately. It reminds me of the original EarPods case, see-through plastic, and they tried to make a fidget spinnerish dimple. Clever idea. That plastic though, that's gonna get scratched up over time. But you can always fix that with our sponsor, G Brand. Just kidding, we have no sponsor. We're a small channel trying to make it on our own with like 2 patrons. Seriously embarrassing. Do consider being a patron or support us in one of the ways in the description down below.
You've probably already heard about this, but these buds aren't the world's best sounding buds. And before you say, oh, they just cost $99, I present to you the Edifier NeoBuds Pro, the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro, the Earfun Air Pro 2, well, basically almost any earbuds around this price.
Before we even get to the sound, we have to first say who we think this is aimed towards. It's for casual listening, not critical listening. You can see it on the package. No information about which drivers or codecs are used, but for some reason, voltage and case battery capacity are mentioned. I guess it looked very tech. So with that in mind, they're decently loud, not the loudest, but far from the quietest. That's okay. Nothing's also decided to tune these to be very V-shaped, which means turn up the bass, turn up the treble, and you know what? In general, I'm on board with that. But not in this case. The treble is more sibilant than I'd like, but more than that, it has this real thinness. You know what they sound like? They sound like the Bose Quiet Comfort buds. All the treble thinness of the Bose buds with none of the punchy bass or wide soundstage. When the bass does appear, it is possible, although it does tend a little bit to the boomy side. But for reference, the NeoBuds Pro at about $130 blow these out of the water, and for a far more balanced and neutral sound, the One More Comfort Buds Pro at $99 are a much better choice. The worst part about the sound for me isn't that it's sibilant or the frequency response is weird, is that the timbre of instruments just seems very wrong. I mean, the Earfun Pro 2 also suffer from that to some extent, but they're like 60% of the price and sound pretty much better in every other department. So if you were listening to pop or EDM, which is, very busy with a lot of instruments, I suppose you could get away with this, but things like jazz or classical music are really going to suffer much more from that lack of fidelity. The limited EQ presets that Nothing offers in the app didn't really help much with this. But you guys watching and subscribing form a very small part of the market. If you think of a family member or friend who isn't spending half their time on YouTube, commenting on DHRME videos and following us on Twitter, or any of the awesome audio channels on here, shout out to El Jefe Reviews and GameSkey in our space, they usually hear a lot of audio brands from a completely different source. And so for those guys, sound is just the basics: high bass, high treble, high volume. And it's really the lifestyle stuff that matters: style, comfort, convenience. Oh, and phone calls.
Yes, phone calls. Let's talk about that, shall we? First off, you can change ANC mode while on calls. Weird, but the basics and volume controls work well. This isn't quite Fuckman approved buds because you can't mute calls using the buds themselves. For the call quality, as always, you get to listen to the samples first. Feel free to skip to our conclusion using the YouTube chapter down below.
Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3. Pop pop popsicle, ice ice icicle, test test testing, 1 2 3.
When we tested these on a phone call, they were very clear and audible in quiet conditions, as good as the AirPods Pro even. In windy conditions, the Nothing Ear 1 did really well, eliminating all background noise and perfectly isolating Kevin's voice. The AirPods Pro struggled more and the voice didn't come through as clearly as the Nothing Ear 1. But that's a little bit of the theme here. When it came to background cafe type noises, the Nothing Ear 1 also did very well. Compared to the AirPods Pro, it felt like Kevin was in a whole different room. The Nothing has a much lower threshold for eliminating noise, so when the speaker stops, complete silence. Now this might be good for certain noisy situations, but the flip side here is that if you're a quiet speaker, the listener might end up saying,
"You still there?"
due to the aggressive noise reduction.
The touch controls are very responsive and provide fairly extensive options, including volume controls. The app works well on Android, but on iPhone, we had some problems connecting. The app is okay, you get some customization options for the touch controls. You can switch noise cancelling modes, and you have some basic EQ presets. You can also find your buds if they're still connected by playing a loud sound through them. And we think we just got a really awesome serial number. The pairing is easy to do by opening the case and holding down the button on the case to put it into pairing mode. Are you still there? What's also noteworthy is that these buds connect very quickly to both Android or iPhone, so you'll be up and running very soon. However, as most buds, these connect to a single device at a time, meaning that you'll need to disconnect on one before connecting to the second. So, what do you get for 99 bucks? Well, to be honest, I'm not particularly picky about my audio. What matters most is comfort and fit, because I'm using these things for hours every day and I'd like to continue using them if I'm going out for a run. I also need them to do well for phone calls since we're all still working from home. Also, despite the many buds I have access to by being a YouTuber, I personally would like my buds to be priced well. And since I'm a very vain person, I like products that look good.
And for listening to podcasts and doing work around the house, I also like to have more casual buds. But for music, the ear ones do nothing for me. That design is attractive though, I must admit. Vanity isn't the reserve of Kevin alone. So our conclusion is this: these buds are not for everyone, but they definitely are nice for a certain segment of people. Now most of our hardcore fans, we're looking at you Wade, aren't gonna buy this. But the real success of the Nothing Ear 1 is that it does the basics really well, and all that hype actually makes it an attractive proposition for many people. I'd say these people actually need something from One More, Lipotech, Earfun, Edifier, Soundcore, or the many other companies out there actually making well-performing products. But these people have more likely heard of the Nothing Ear 1 due to its hype campaign, marketing muscle, and limited drops. And sometimes that's the way the world works. You've not been making much ado about nothing, and we've been DHRME. Namaste.